I love you. Gentlefolk, ladies and men, we're glad to have you here again. So please won't you come on in and sit with us on the couch. I'm the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
And I'm the Faceless Leon.
Oh,
Ain't got no face or a home, but this is Green and Faceless on the couch. We talk about movies and TV here, and
we're gonna sing the whole fucking episode.
The whole episode. No, that'd probably get really annoying.
I'm also not great at singing. Like I could hold a tune for a tiny 5 seconds.
I did a lot of singing in high school, and any technical sense has gone out the window. It's gone now.
Oh yeah, I have no fucking knowledge about singing.
Yeah,
never taken a class in my life.
It's gone. I tried once for a thing real quick, and then I was like, no, I don't know what I'm doing.
But someday you will star in one of these two musical horror comedies.
Yes. Genre Smackdown.
Genre Smackdown, baby girl. It is. It is a horror comedy musical. Very niche genre there.
Yeah, yes.
Horror comedy. In fact, so niche that we're talking one of my all-time favorite films. So it's a little biased already. I'm sorry. But we're talking that, and we're pitting it against a film that I'd surprisingly never heard of.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Me neither.
You say it like you're just like, really? You've never heard of this?
Never heard of it.
Well, it really surprises me too that I never heard of it, because it's directed and written by Brian De Palma, and I like Brian De Palma. He did the Scarface remake. He did Mission Impossible. Stephen King's Carrie, the first one, like The Untouchables. He did The Untouchables, I think. That might be thinking of the wrong director, but I think he did The Untouchables. It's like a very prolific director that I totally watched all of his films, in the late 90s, early 2000s. I fucking ate this guy's filmography up, and I just can't believe I never heard of Phantom of the Paradise.
There's also just some fantastic characters in this movie. I really enjoy William Finley as Winslow / the Phantom, and Paul Williams. I've listened to some Paul Williams music for, I don't know, years, never knowing about this. And one of the songs I listen to a lot is the end credits song. I listen to it quite often. But he plays the villain, Swan, which is kind of a giveaway, maybe, because maybe if you have never seen this movie, you might think the Phantom's the villain.
Right.
But
it's a unique take on that story.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's a unique take on many stories. It's Phantom of the Opera. It's Faust. Mm-hmm. I feel like there was another one I remembered. It's very slightly Oscar Wilde's Picture of Dorian Gray. There's a bit of that in there too.
Yes, there's a bit of that in there too. Yes.
Yeah. So it's that one might be a bit of
that's really deep in there, and you know what? By the time they actually get around to watching it, because we recommend it, they'd probably forgotten.
This one was really kind of hard for me to get into. We talked about it a little bit. We have you and I off mic. I agreed with you when we were talking that I liked the music when I heard it, but after it was done, I don't remember the songs. I really don't. I would have to listen to the soundtrack 4 or 5 times before any of them stuck. I feel like.
Well, I listened to it today, and
nice.
Because I remember that I did really like it, but you said, "Man, I'm not really remembering any of the tunes." So I listened to it, and man, just listening to it, it's so good. There is some really good storytelling in it.
That's
the words and music are by Paul Williams. So,
right.
I mean, that's probably why I like it, because I already listened to some of his music. I don't know anything about him personally. I just know that I listen to some of his music.
I didn't really... He was one of those names that's like, I didn't know, like off the top of my head, you could say Paul Williams before this film, and I was like, maybe I know it. I don't.
Right.
You know, I can't think of him off the top of my head. But when I listen to his music, it's like, oh yeah, I definitely have heard Paul Williams.
Yeah, of course.
And I really do like the idea that, you know, you don't typically see the songwriter playing a character in an adaptation of this. So, like, I really like that he was just like, no, this is how it is. This is how we're going to do it. Like, that's pretty cool. I really enjoy his involvement. And he makes a really creepy villain, too, which is a lot of fun.
There's this strangeness to it. And he's, I would say, pretty decent actor. It kind of honestly reminds me of when David Bowie's and stuff.
Yeah, a little bit.
Also, they had very similar hair at certain points.
Right. There's a line in the movie where one person, like, I can't remember exactly what's going on in this scene, but one character says, nobody cares about the fucking lyrics. You know, nobody listens to the lyrics. They like the music. They like the tune. They like the, you know, the feel of the song. And I agree with that. I don't really agree with that because I do like progressive rock. That, you know, Rush is my all-time favorite band, and it's all in the fucking lyrics there. You know, Neil Peart is a goddamn poet. And I want to re-listen to the soundtrack and listen specifically to the lyrics and everything, but watching it all performed, like watching stuff happen while this music's going on, I really just didn't get into it. It wasn't pulling me in.
What the problem was, and I think they were just trying this, you know, it was just an idea someone had, and they decided to use it for the entirety of the film. Nobody just randomly breaks out into song in this movie. It is either a planned performance that happens, or it is Winslow in the middle of writing, because he is the writer of the music that's being used.
Is there also background songs too?
Yes,
like
there's a couple
when
background
scenes are happening?
songs that Paul Williams sings. That's the only time. He never sings while he is on screen. Mm-hmm. But I did want to mention that the character you were talking about was Philbin, played by George Mimoli.
Thank you.
And,
I really liked him.
Yeah, I did really like him. He also gets to play a priest, but as the same as Philbin. He is Swan's, like, go-to man. He does whatever he wants. He's a hinge person.
And can I say we have a friend? I don't want to say his name on the podcast, but I think you know who. Yeah. I think you immediately know who I'm thinking of, because if we were ever going to remake this, I know who I'm casting as Philbin. Like, he's just perfect for that role.
There's this one point, and I think it's like in that same conversation where he's like, nobody gives a shit about the lyrics, or like. Because what Winslow has done has written a rock cantata.
Right.
And he wants Swan, a big producer, to listen to it. But Swan just wants one part of it, one song of it. And Winslow's like, no, that's not how it works. And that's when Philbin's like, nobody fucking cares. They just, if the tune sounds good, they want the tune. And
exactly.
That's, I think, when Winslow's temper breaks and he shoves Philbin up against the wall. And I think that is the moment where I felt like this particular person you're talking about would have done good in that part. It's like, hey, man, you got like, some temper there. Just like moments after he was being the aggressor. It's like, hey.
Yeah, that was the scene where I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I wanted to text him and be like, do you know this fucking movie? Because I know that if I ever remake this, you're in this movie. You are this character. I miss him. But
I do miss that person.
With this film, I really like Philbin, his involvement in it, because he's very much kind of like a background character, but he is so utilized really well. And I don't remember where I was going with that, but it was with his involvement with William Finley's character, because his character just... he gets robbed.
He does. Yeah, the whole point of the story is that Swan just straight up steals Winslow's music.
Exactly. And in trying to get his revenge, he is practically erased from existence. You know, Swan does everything he can to make, what's William Finley's character's name?
Winslow Leach.
Winslow, right, Winslow Leach. He is just basically erased. His character, people think he's dead. When the song comes out, I don't even know if they give him credit when the song is about to be sung on the radio by Swan's like famous band, the Juicy Fruits. That was their name.
Juicy Fruits. Yeah, like what a stupid name.
Except they had changed their name to something like equally stupid right before they produced his song on the radio, which is like what really pissed him off because he didn't want the Juicy Fruits to sing it. He didn't think they were at all capable for that song. And that's when he goes for his revenge. That's when he gets erased, basically. And when he becomes the Phantom, when he goes to the Swan's Paradise Theater and just haunts it like, the Phantom of the Opera haunts the Opera House. And, I just read, this is more based on the novel rather than the Broadway play of The Phantom of the Opera. And I just read that novel by Gaston Leroux. And I really enjoyed the aspects of that they took for this. Because, like, in that book, the Phantom is very much kind of the villain.
Okay.
He is doing a lot of bad things. He's influencing Christine Day, or Dae. I've never been able to pronounce her name right. But here, the Phantom is just the misunderstood. He is kind of villainous, more prankster-ish, really. But the villain is very much Swan, and what Swan is doing to manipulate all these characters.
Okay, you said more prankster-ish, and I don't know, man. He straight up kills people.
That is true. But at the beginning, when it starts off, it's very much kind of... Because wasn't his first thing very pranksterish, or was his first thing the explosion, the bomb in the car?
As the Phantom, well, no, he did something. Yeah, he did do something before he got his face all fucked up. Because
like he ran through the record store and was like destroying all the records, like
or something. Yeah,
yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
it does like progress, and like it's so weird sometimes. So when he's the Phantom, he also doesn't have a voice anymore.
Right.
He eventually gets this like box on his chest that helps him have a computerized voice.
Swan helps him communicate when he realizes that he can like leak money off of this guy.
Right. He's like, so basically Swan feels like, okay, if this guy's going to keep on causing trouble, I got to get him on my side. And he's just like such a fucking warlock. His charisma is like a bazillion. And he can get people to sign contracts for anything. And that's where it's a lot like Faust.
And honestly, I'm not very familiar with Faust. I was more familiar with the other aspects of this story. And so the Faust part was, very nice for me because that was... It's not fresh because a lot of people, use Faust for their storytelling. But it was nice how it was very much focused more on Faust than on other aspects that I knew. Because it still felt more fresh and more enthralling for me because I was still interested in where the story was going. I still wanted to know. I was still definitely watching this movie, but it just, for whatever reason, I wasn't meshing with it on first watch.
I think I will like it more on secondary watches because they do some super weird editing stuff. Like, that's the one thing that was really throwing me. Like, there was a lot of times where they were doing two scenes at the same time. Like they and then they would like meet up and or something, which was an interesting concept. I just think it's hard on the viewer.
Specifically, I've already mentioned the bomb in the car. So that's one of those scenes where you take a split screen viewpoint of this one scene. You have one side of the screen we're following the singers and everybody, and then the other side of the screen we're following the car where the bomb was placed, and like. As everything drifts across the stage, and then slowly everything meets up, and we're in one scene where the bomb in the car explodes, and it's interesting take, but it was kind of jarring. It was hard to watch when you're not expecting it. So I do think on secondary watches it'll be a little easier to handle some of the weird editing choices in this.
Some of it is an acquired taste. I will definitely say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I did enjoy it overall. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
I was just going to go back to the charisma, because you're talking about how his charisma was so high. That was one aspect that really just kept pissing me off, was how much people kept trusting this guy.
Right.
Like, I get it. Like, he does have good charisma, and he is very charming when he wants to be. But Winslow, when he signs his contract, I'm screaming at the screen like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
He literally drove you to the point of almost non-existence.
Right.
And you're just like, okay, maybe he's changed his ways, and like he doesn't trust Swan at all.
He trusts him enough to not read the whole goddamn thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's where I'm at with it. Is just like, I know that he still is holding this man at arm's length, that he doesn't like this man, that he doesn't trust this man, and yet he still like reads some of the contract, and he's just like, what does that mean? And Swan's like, oh, well, it clearly means this thing it obviously doesn't mean.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. And he just goes to another page. He misses like 50 pages and just flips to the next page. And it's like, oh my... Yeah. It just kept pissing me off. I'm like, how are you this stupid?
Well, it takes him a while to really introduce the, I'll say, supernatural aspect. That's pretty late in the movie. But I will say that that's part of this. I don't want to give too much away.
Right. I had spoiled it for myself because when I had done my little bit of research, I saw like what this movie was influenced by and was expecting that kind of a little twist to be pushed into it. And when it happens, it was still jarring. It was still very weird. Like that was this whole film was like, it just kept poking me in odd places that I wasn't expecting it to.
Right.
And I wasn't quite okay with it doing so.
Right. But I'll have to say, the first time I watched it, the other movie we're going to talk about, I did have those feels. But
I did not.
For other reasons, because of my strict upbringing, I'll say. That's
fair. Yes. I was going to say, when I first watched the other movie we're going to talk about, which is Rocky Horror Picture Show, because we've already put it up in the title. When I first watched that, I was over the fucking moon about it. I watched it 2 times in a row.
I loved it. It's just, as I was watching it, because I had no idea any of it. So while I was watching it, and then I just saw how much of a good time everybody was having, and I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
Like, my first time was an audience participation time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I guess really we'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, and with Phantom of the Paradise, I think I would have liked it better if I watched it with people, because it's, watching it on my couch alone, watching Rocky Horror by myself, I can still enjoy the fuck out of that. I can dance, I can have fun. Mm-hmm. Watching Phantom of the Paradise for the first time, I was trying to pay attention. I was trying to, focus on what was going on. It's a comedic film, but the comedy is presented very weirdly. It's very kind of just it's on the nose, but not apparent, I guess. It's very dulled comedy.
It's kind of,
there's a lot of,
I would say maybe dry would apply.
A little bit. A little bit. Like, it doesn't, I don't know. Whenever I think dry, I also think witty, and there's not much wit in this.
Maybe austere?
Sure. We'll go with austere. I like that. It's all around weird. Like, I don't. Yeah. I definitely need more viewings to appreciate it.
You want to do closing statements then? Wait, we didn't talk about Phoenix. We got to talk about Phoenix. Phoenix is awesome.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I love Jessica Harper in this as this character because there is like one aspect that I don't really like, and that's because at the beginning of the film she was very, very strong in her opinion that she didn't want to do certain things to get singing position. Yeah, and all the other women were. And then later, she's willing to do anything for Swan because he says he'll make her, a star.
Yeah.
But I think that's also everything to do with Swan and not to do with Phoenix.
Yeah, that is a very interesting underlying aspect of this film we didn't get into, is how they use women in the business. Right. How they, disrespect them and abuse them.
A lot of that. It's definitely commentary, like direct commentary about the industry.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I did appreciate that aspect of the story, and I thought it was interesting that, you know, they have this very poignant scene up front where she is like, "No, I am not doing this," and she storms out, like you said.
Right.
And then in like the very next scene, Winslow is there dressed up as a woman doing just that, trying to get to film it, or trying to get to Swan.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great. Like, that was a very hilarious moment. Because she is like, you clearly have her saying no, and then it cuts to Winslow like, yes.
Yes, I will do this. But that is because he has already been robbed.
Right, exactly. He's at his wit's end. He needs something to get there, to get him to the place he needs to be. And I do like Phoenix. I agree with you, that little shifting at the end, or near the, in the third act. I didn't like that. Because it was like, the way they presented it is, as long as she gets to sing, she's happy.
Right.
But I still liked her being a little bit more of a stronger, like, no, I'm going to sing, and that's not the kind of payment I'm going to be giving for it.
Right. I think if they would have made what Swan can do more apparent, it would have been better. But did we talk about Suspiria last year?
Oh,
but I don't know. Anyway, she's the lead in that, and so that a lot of people will know her from being Susie. And then she's done a whole bunch of other stuff, so people probably know her.
I also don't think we mentioned that the Phoenix, or not the Phoenix, the Phantoms singing voice is actually Paul Williams. It's not
really?
William Finley. Yeah, Paul Williams did the singing voice for the Phantom, which I thought was pretty good.
Interesting.
They run it through like a synthesizer kind of thing, just because it's his voice, and they have a nice little scene where you see Swan throwing up all the auto tuning and everything, trying to get the voice just right. I like that. I thought that was a lot of fun.
It was. He was making his own voice.
Yeah. I was like, that's great.
So we did not mention Garrett Graham, or Graham, sorry, but he plays Beef, and I think Beef might have been my favorite and least favorite character at the same fucking time.
I could agree with one of those. He was my least favorite character.
I love the choices that Garrett made for him. It was what they wanted, I'm sure.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong with the character. It was just his singing.
Oh,
that I was just like,
God,
why did you replace her with this? Like, he's good, and his character is a lot of fun. It's just his style of singing. I was just like,
I know.
I don't know why. What decision? Like, it's like when I watch a fashion, a runway show or whatever, and I see all like the dresses and everything that are coming out, and all the people are like, "Oh wow, look at that dress!" I'm like, "That's the most horrid thing I've ever seen." Like,
but dude, what? I don't think it's just his voice, because listening to it on the album, it seems to sound way better than it did in the movie.
So maybe it was the mixing, maybe
maybe they. Well, I'm saying, I think it's his face in the movie, because he makes the most ridiculous faces while he's singing. I enjoyed you, Garrett. Thank you.
I enjoyed him. He was just like least favorite character.
All right, what do you got?
To close it, I do, and I did have fun. It was a very interesting film. And I will definitely watch it again. It's going to be a few years, and I'm going to need to like completely forget about it, I think. But I think when I come back to it, I'm going to enjoy it more.
Sure.
But it's a cult classic. I guess that's another part of the genre. The genre Smackdown we could add. Cult classic horror comedy musicals.
And you know what? It still won't be our longest title. So.
It still won't be. Nope. But I did still enjoy it. I do recommend it. I'm very shocked I never heard about this before. but on the first viewing, I'm only going to give it 2.5 stars.
That's fair, I think, because I think a lot of critics at the time probably agreed with you. I didn't read them, so I don't know.
there was a lot of mixed reviews. People either did not get it or just did not like what they got.
Right. I liked it. It gets a face. I think maybe on subsequent viewings it might turn into a 1.5 because I really enjoyed the music, even though it didn't really match up. I didn't like the Beach Boy music that the Juicy Fruit was doing. Not that I hated it. Like, they're decent songs. One of them's literally about carburetors, and that's stupid. The other one, though, like, was a ballad about this guy named Eddie that had nothing to do with the movie, and that was pretty decent. I think it's just they're both so different from the rest of the music that I just like, why? I don't care.
Yeah, I agree, man. The Juicy Fruits were a weird fucking thing.
Yeah.
I mean, great name though, honestly.
Yes,
it's so stupid, but I'm like, yep, that would be a Beach Boys follow up.
Yeah, like they were like a mixture of like a beach band and a Grease band. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were really trying to do.
Weird ass shit.
Well, let's move on to the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh my god, Les, please.
But first, maybe we should get a soda pop.
Yeah, that's right. That's all I'm going to be doing. Totally.
All of it. That's it.
Hello. Hi. Are we back? We good? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I suppose, yeah.
Let us talk the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Let's just do. Oh god, I love it so much.
Yeah,
one of my favorite movies.
I feel like us talking about it is not gonna. I mean, anybody who's listening to this is. I just feel like have seen it.
Right. I really hope they have.
If they haven't, you should. I mean, I guess it is a cult classic, so maybe you haven't. But it's like the top of the cult classic list.
Literally,
right,
yeah, like it is the cult classic film. Like I think many people would agree that it is the cult classic film.
Well, the fans, they sure would.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they literally have giant viewings of this where they'll fill stadiums of people, just all of them decked out as Dr. Frankenfurter or other characters from the movie.
Yes.
Like, no joke, it's on my bucket list that I want to attend one of these viewings as Frankenfurter.
Yeah,
it's one of my
sure.
dreams.
When I went, I said earlier that I went for my first time. That was the only time. We were going to go the year after, but something happened and we weren't able to go. And then the next year, like, someone, like, might have been killed in the area. I mean, it was Fort Wayne. So, and we were like, okay, maybe we don't need to do that.
Right.
But we still watched it. Like, it almost became a tradition to watch it with this group of friends every year. Anyhow, I went, and there was a lot of Eddies there, and I wore a Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, man.
Because I had no idea.
That's hilarious. See, because Eddie is played by Meatloaf, right? That is Meatloaf's character.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I fucking love him. He's great in this. We'll get to him because I want to talk a lot of the characters, but there's just it's always been one of my dreams just to go to one of those viewings, to just be one with everybody, because it's got to be a great experience. It just has to be.
There's a whole list of participation requirements.
Right.
Not like, okay, I mean, it's suggested they're not gonna throw you out. Yeah, like, because obviously it has to be somebody's first time doing it. But like, there's just this whole, like, throwing stale bread. There's rice for the wedding. I would hate to be the person who works there.
Right. Having to clean it all up. Yelling boring during the commentator scenes, the narrator scenes.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
Calling Brad an asshole, I think, is also it. And I think also you call Janet a whore, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I guess if you're going to call one, you got to call the other.
She's my favorite character. Susan Sarandon, everybody.
Oh my god, just fucking
You didn't pause for the applause.
Oops, sorry.
No, she is amazing as Janet Weiss.
Indeed. Janet Weiss.
So good. And then we got Barry Bostwick as Brad Majors. These are our main characters.
Our heroes.
Our heroes. They get a flat. They just newly engaged and they get a flat on a stormy night.
Yep.
And the only thing they can find is Dr. Frankenfurter's castle.
And when they get there, they find a wild party, already a mad swing.
That is right. They are lit in by handyman Riff Raff, played by Richard O'Brien, who is also the writer.
Yeah. Co-written with Jim Sharman, the director.
And it's just... what a beautiful thing you created that I will cherish forever. Forever and ever.
Like, as you said, it's become a tradition for you to watch it with a group of people. I think I've literally seen this every year for the past 20 years. Like
that's fair. Wow, you were introduced to it young. Wow.
Yeah, I think it was one of those that I snuck. I don't know if my parents actually knew that I watched this. I might have just watched it quietly somewhere. But yeah, it's been one of my favorite movies for so fucking long. Like, God, this is easily probably the 20th, the 25th time I've watched this movie. And never has it felt stale. Every single year.
No, never.
Yeah, like, as you mentioned, you've already mentioned Janet and you've already mentioned Brad. They are very fun characters to talk about, but we don't want to spend too much time just talking about characters. So let's go into other important characters. Well, let's talk first Riff Raff and Magenta, I believe her name is.
Yes, she is billed as Magenta, a domestic.
Jesus.
They all have all of their billings have their role. So Riff Raff, a handyman, and then should we throw Columbia in there while we talk about them?
Yes, let's go ahead.
Columbia is a groupie, played by Little Nell, Nell Campbell.
And who plays Magenta?
Magenta is Patricia Quinn.
Thank you. Yeah, they are all together. They are a lot of fun. It took probably 5 viewings for me to be okay with Columbia's voice. It's a beautiful voice, and I recognized it when I was young that it was a good voice, but it grated on me as a kid. I was just
It is a character for sure. 100%. Yeah. I would say I felt the same way, but that last scene after they get Medusified, and they're singing cabaret. I like it in that bit a lot. I like that particular bit.
Where her nip slips constantly happening all the time.
That's not why I like it. I think just this movie, man, it's the ensemble. It is about the ensemble.
Yeah, everybody works.
Right. But of course, everyone's eye is drawn to Tim Curry.
Oh, man.
As Frankenfurter, the sweet transvestite from Transylvania.
Goddamn queen.
You gotta love him.
Yep. Fucking this is his first film role, too. Way back in 1975. I mean, Curry was doing, I don't know if it was Broadway, but he was definitely doing theater stuff before this. And this is his first film role, and he went this hard. This is an all-out character.
They did it on stage first, right?
Yeah, I believe they did. I just don't know if it was Broadway.
I'm sure they got a movie adaptation.
Right, you would think.
Maybe it was personal money that went into it.
It really does feel like there's not much influence from outside. Right. It feels like it was an all-artist idea, image. Just everything that Richard O'Brien wanted.
One thing that I know is different from the stage version to the movie version is Meatloaf's involvement. Because on stage, he played Eddie and Dr. Von Scott. Scotty, where are you? Dr. Everett V. Scott, a rival scientist.
Who is most certainly not a Nazi.
No. But hey, it is a reflection of some stuff that actually happened. Like, we took their scientists who were not necessarily Nazis. They were just forced to do science for the Nazis.
Right.
And
do you remember
we used them as our scientists because they were brilliant.
Right. Do you remember Dr. Strangelove or How I Learned to Love the Bomb?
Yes.
It has a lot of those moments in this where it's like that one character who's like trying to hide his German heritage.
Yes, definitely a lot of that.
That's so good. There's a lot of moments where he's just like, Janet Weiss.
Like, even he must have done that a lot, because even Brad calls her Janet Weiss. And Scotty was their high school teacher.
It's so good. And I do love Meatloaf's performance. I love his involvement in this. Eddie is one of my favorite songs is Hot Patootie, sung by Meatloaf, and that's in the movie.
It is a fun one.
I remembered seeing an interview. It was an interview of an older Meatloaf talking about when he was first in that movie, and he said he was so out of place. He was not around the theater scene. He didn't really have much involvement in the LGBTQ community or with drag queens or any of that. And he thought it was a big joke. He thought people were making fun of him at times. And he was getting so furious trying to perform this because he was just not jiving with the attitude of everybody. And I can't remember if it was Tim Curry or somebody, but like somebody talked to him and was just like, you're the one who has to sing this song because nobody else can hit these notes like you can.
Yeah.
and it was just, it was that little spur of confidence in his singing where it was just like, you're the one who can hit these things and make this happen the way we want it to happen on screen. So you just have to, come back and do it and get involved. And I can't remember for the life of me who told him that, but like, thank you for doing that, because Hot Patootie is easily one of the best songs in the whole movie.
Yeah. If I recall, I watched an interview about it as well. It could have been the same one. He, first time that he saw Tim in Frankenfurter's costume, he left because he 100% thought it was a joke on him.
Yeah.
And he grew up very religiously, and his dad was not about that at all. Mm-hmm. That's what I remember from that interview. But this really, being involved with this did open Meatloaf's eyes to that kind of stuff.
Thank God it did.
Yeah, for real.
Tim Curry is, Dr. Frankenfurter is one of my iconic characters. Easily a great role model in my life. I fucking love Frankenfurter. Again, someday I will have the body confidence where I will attend a viewing as Frankenfurter. That is bucket list goal right there.
I will be there with you.
Hell yeah, as Meatloaf.
Not Eddie, you don't have to be. As Meatloaf.
You don't have to be Eddie. Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to be Eddie. I think you could also pull off Everett Scott.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
a bearded Brad.
A bearded Brad. I was thinking maybe Rocky, but that was after I have enough body confidence to play Rocky.
That's fair.
A bearded Rocky though, because at that
Adonis
time I imagined that the hair on top of my head would be gone,
so you could wear a wig.
No, I could wear a wig if we want to go the way the film looks, or I could just shave everything off and be Rocky as if he were imitating an Oscar statue.
There you go. I like that. I like that a lot. Now, Rocky is also, I believe, played by Peter Henwood.
That's right.
And Trevor White was the singer for Rocky's, I think, one or two songs.
I do like their songs.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we mentioned that Jonathan Adams plays Dr. Everett Van Scott.
Charles Gray's the narrator, right?
That's right. He is.
Yeah.
It's billed as the criminologist. An expert.
Criminologist, yes. Yeah, because he's explaining everything that happened.
Yeah, the whole movie is great. All the songs are memorable. There's a couple, that first song at the castle. I do sometimes misplace that with the other bops, but it's so good. And also the ending song sometimes can escape my mind, but it's a great ending. That as well.
Is it though? That whole third act is where I drop off a bit with the movie.
Oh, really?
That's the only part where I drop off a bit, because it's still great, and I love the songs that happen at the end. Because I think there's like 2 or 3. I can't remember how many there are.
It's a big finale, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very over the top and absurd and wild finale, and I enjoy it, but it just doesn't deliver everything what everything before it had set up. You know, it doesn't. It kind of just it's one of those endings that it's not as satisfying as I wanted it to be. And there's also a thing that happens at the end that I'm not at all a fan of. I don't like it.
Oh, you don't like that part of the ending? Okay, but I love I'm Coming Home. That's good.
Oh, that's a beautiful song. And that's why I don't like what happens, because he sings that song and he's not going home. Not in the way he wants to.
When I said we, I did not mean you.
Richard O'Brien is... Oh, his voice is so good as Riff Raff. That was a good impersonation.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I love... Even when he sings, too, because he has a bit of a... He has a piece of a song in... what is it? It was the song I was just singing during our break when we were getting soda pops.
I forget.
Light at the Frankenstein place.
Oh, yeah.
There's a light.
Yeah.
Riff Raff has a small little bridge moment in there, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
He's just singing out a window.
That's the part I was talking about. Like, I love that part so much, but I do forget its lyrics over the bops, you know?
Right, over all the other songs, the Time Warp and everything else, the Sweet Transvestite.
Right. I don't know. I feel like people know this movie.
Right.
And I think we talked enough about the plot, maybe. Okay. Maybe we didn't. So, if you have not watched this movie, Brad and Janet, they have a flat. They end up at the Frankenstein place. And there's a big party. We mentioned all this already. And they're like, kind of like forced into this weird, like, Stockholm Syndrome hospitality thing going on. And Dr. Frankenfurter really starts to tear at their relationship. And meanwhile, he's pissing off his staff. And that's the plot. And he makes a man named Rocky. Yeah,
he creates a golden Adonis.
Yes. That is the plot of the movie. Also, Columbia's there.
She's just there.
There's a good plot between her and Eddie, too.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that I still haven't actually pieced together. Because it's not, it's all in song. A lot of it's in song, at least. And most of the time I'm spending too much time enjoying the song and enjoying like how it's making me feel and enjoying the performances that are on screen, that I kind of miss out on some of the plot elements, like her and Eddie. Like I know what's going on, but I haven't like fully actually pieced together why Eddie's even there, like what happened with him.
Well, I can give you what I think I know.
Yes.
So, Eddie was a delivery boy, and he came to deliver, I don't know, whatever, maybe pizza. I don't remember the song well enough. And he gets enraptured with Frankenfurter, and they become a fling thing. And then, because Frankenfurter feels like he can have as many flings as he wants, but he's also very jealous. I don't know if Columbia was there first or came after, but anyways, they were both his fling thing. And they started hooking up together, and their relationship was stronger. Ooh. And Frank didn't like that. Yeah. And that's why what happened.
Right. Yeah, it's like most of that I feel like I pieced, but like there's little elements in there that you have filled in for me, so thank you.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, because there's a lot of that about this movie. There's a lot of like small little plot elements that I just miss because I'm having too much fun enjoying the movie.
It is a good movie.
Which is not a problem. And one thing I wanted to say, one thing I wanted to place this film above the other one we talked about today is how they sync up lips with the song. So Phantom of the Paradise had many moments where a character would be singing, but it didn't look like the character that we were seeing on camera was quite matching the lyrics.
Right. That is I feel like a problem of the era, though. And I know this is a year afterwards, so
exactly
they did it a lot better.
It's 1 year later, and everything looks perfect. Even the fucking time warp and then Sweet Transvestite scene, like that would be the one scene where I feel like there would be a lot of trouble to sync lips with a song, but nope, looks great. It looks just, it's so fun.
And maybe the version we're watching is a remastered version.
Maybe.
Because it has a lot more popularity than the other film. And if I can lead into closing statements, I will say, Face and a Half film, I don't know how it couldn't be. I love this movie. Right. There's no... that you wouldn't... If you didn't feel this way about a movie, you wouldn't watch it year after year. Intentionally.
It's easily my words right there. I have written down, I can't watch a movie every single year for 20 years straight and not give it 4 stars. Yeah. It's a 4-star film. Even if I don't like the third act as much as I like the first 2 acts, I still like the third act. Right. It's still really fun, great music. And it's just not what I wanted. Right. Still delivers.
So I will say then that it's pretty obvious who wins the genre Smackdown.
Yeah, sorry, Phantom.
But I think they're a pretty heavy hitter. They're a fan favorite. So maybe it wasn't fair, but maybe this is the purpose of making this episode. Go check out Phantom of the Paradise. It is worth watching. 100%. It is so weird. Somebody made this movie.
Not just somebody, Brian De Palma, man. Like,
yes.
Like, it still just rocks me. Like, how did I not? I haven't heard of any of it. Like, I was looking up his filmography, and it was like he's known for these cult classic films, and I hadn't heard of any of them. Right. And I was like, I only know that I'm a blockbuster bitch. I only know his fucking blockbusters. Like, oh my god. But well, I agree with you. Go check it out.
Yeah, please do. It also, I wanted to tell you that it was recommended to me by one of our really dear friends. I won't mention their name. But we were just at work, and they're like, yeah, I think you guys should talk about this. And I was like, that's perfect, because Rocky Horror Picture Show, and it's Halloween.
If we had found another cult classic horror comedy musical to pair it against, it would have had a very good fighting chance.
I think so. Yes, if a third exists. I mean,
Little Shop of Horrors to an extent has some.
You know what? I think I would agree that goes right in there.
And I feel like I've only seen Little Shop of Horrors a couple times, but I feel like if we would pitch this up against Phantom of the Paradise. I keep wanting to say Phantom of the Opera. It's not.
I know.
Phantom of the Paradise. if we had pitched those two together, it would have been more of a tip of the hat.
Well, maybe, I don't know. I have a affinity for that film too.
That's fair.
I think it would be a good fight between this and Rocky Horror, but Rocky Horror would have probably won. Secret review of Little Shop of Horrors.
I'm all in it for Audrey too.
Oh yeah,
them lips.
Also,
man.
I love Audrey's song. Just like her weird voice leading into those pipe bursts. Fuck yeah. Anyhow, I think that's our show.
It is. It is our show. That's correct. And who am I? I am the Green Traveler.
The Green Traveler. He's traveling right now. I am the Faceless Leon. Thank you for listening. Safe travels. If you want to check out our Patreon, Green and Faceless. No, that's not it. At patreon.com/Green and Faceless. Safe travels and good night. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of FictionWorks 19. If you like the show, please show your support by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Like, follow, subscribe, wherever you might listen. We also now have a Patreon account. If you feel so inclined to support us in a financial manner, please become a patron by visiting patreon.com/greenandfaceless. You can also find more information about us on our Facebook account or on the FictionWorks19 Instagram account. Thank you so much for listening.